Hello and welcome. Today we've got David Mahoney, and today we are going to be discussing paramedics caught secretly not vaccinated. We're going to be discussing the Middle East and Israel. Also, Ireland tyranny increases to new levels, and also Disney's demise. They are losing absolute power, thanks to Elon Musk, who said, "Go and F yourself," because he was blackmailed by the tyrants. David, how are you, and what have you been up to, sir?
You nearly didn't ask me the same question there. It's been a month, Nick, and we've had to both change our schedules the last couple of times. So, been really busy. I had an interesting trip to Germany, and I'm in the UK now for a couple of days. And I'm going to the Arctic Circle next week on a story up there I'm going to be working on. So, dress warm, Mahoney, is the theme of that one. But good, mate. You've been away for a few weeks as well yourself, no?
I've been awake. I've had a very interesting month. I've met, obviously, Donald J. Trump. I've met Robert Kennedy Jr. I've met Priscilla Presley. I've met Patti LaBelle. I've met, I'm very, it's been an overwhelming month, to be honest.
Is Priscilla awake? That's a funny name to drop in there, isn't it, really?
I didn't go into it, but she was definitely part of an awareness event where
she's with people who are, so she must be really
awareness against drugs and stuff like that because of her partner Elvis, and now her sons and her daughter Lisa Marie, her grandson. She's just been around it so much. I didn't go into it too much, but she seemed lovely. I don't know really much about her. I haven't looked into her. She might be on the other side. She might not be. She might be in the middle. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I have to remain neutral when I meet these people. And she was lovely to me.
What a journey you've had, considering, 3 years ago, you were nothing to do with broadcasting. You did some TV work before, but to meet those names, Nick, is an amazing achievement. I'm very proud of you. You're doing a great job, man, getting the truth out there.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm very grateful, and I can only say I've manifested this. I'm just manifesting and envisioning what I want, and I'm very passionate about what I do, and I have no idea how we got to this. Absolutely no idea, and I thank the Lord.
Yeah, we have to be humble, and we're being guided in the right direction. We'll crack on, Nick. We'll talk about some stories I've been tracking. I'm going to tell you at first something that interesting happened just today. This is about the paramedics. So I'm staying with a friend, and his mother-in-law's ill. 3 different times they had to call an ambulance, and the ambulance was actually really quickly, no problem there. But the issue is seizures. This elderly lady keeps having seizures. So the husband is medically trained. He started bringing up the fact of, have you noticed any more increase in this sort of situation with heart attacks and seizures? And the paramedics all kind of went, oh my God, yes, it's gone absolutely crazy in the UK. It's probably the number one thing. It used to be road accidents and silly things like, people falling downstairs. But they said the number one thing now that's happening is heart issues and seizures of the elderly. Mm-hmm. And of course, the conversation came up about vaccinations. And when he asked them about their vaccinations, they all kind of, because he said first, no, I'm not vaccinated. And they started smiling and saying, no, none of us are. And they said, you'd be surprised how many people in the medical industry and said, there's no way I'm putting that shit into my system. But their firsthand experience in the front lines, Nick, it is a war on health at the moment in all of these countries that they've been forcing the population to take this. They said, we're actually kind of swamped. We can't get to the cases. The hospitals are trying to deal with it, but now they're sending them home when they shouldn't be sent home because there isn't much they can do about it. You can put them on anti-blood pressure, bring the pressure down a bit. But the problem is the blood is clogged. And we've seen these videos where they've been removing these long blood clots of worms from these videos. But videos can always be manipulated and changed. We both know that. So when you're hearing it in a frontline situation from frontline health workers who are saying, we didn't get vaccinated, it's bullshit. And now we're dealing with an inundation of patients that we wouldn't be seeing this before. If they go back and check the records from prior 2020, there was no way. We're talking 3, 4, 5, 600%. In some cases, it's 1,200, 1,400%. more people having these side effects. There is no really long-term solution for it. There is gonna be a big die-off of the elderly that they've taken it. My mother was a victim of this, so I'm fully aware of it.
Mm.
But hearing it from such a, word to mouth, word to word, it just goes to show that a lot of these doctors out there, Peter McCullough's one of them, there's quite a few of them broadcasting now, people like ourselves, we are on the money. We are over target with this facts that we're talking about, which used to be considered, conspiracy theory. Now the conspiracies become conspiracy fact. There is no getting away from it. The statistics are showing that what we talked about for so long is true.
Absolutely. So, um, did they explain how they got away with working in the industry and not getting vaccinated? I'm sure there was a loophole for them, or
Yeah.
some documentation or a paperwork. How you know?
When they were quizzed about it, they said, well, there are ways around that. We all know how to get around that. So I presume it's their friends, the doctor shoots it in the trash on the floor. They're not still carding people for it, but they are still vaccinating people. Somebody in Norway the other day said he was picking his mother up. I said, why do you want me to give you a ride? You normally work. He says, oh, I might be a bit queasy coming back. He said, what are you doing? Dentistry? No, I'm going for my third or fourth booster. And he turned the car around and he says, I'm not driving you there. And they said, well, as a courtesy, because they had to cancel the appointment, they drove in there and the mom said, my son says, I'm not taking this. And she was a doctor. She's a medical doctor, but was following protocols that she's been sent. And you'd be surprised how many medical doctors don't know about a lot of this stuff. They have officially about 5 days of training on nutrition when you become a doctor. And day 5 is usually, okay, we're going to wrap it up on day 4. We're going to have a little test on day 5. But, they don't fail the course if they don't pass the nutrition.
The thing is, they learn medicine. They're selling
Yeah.
drugs. They're the drug dealers of big pharma. They don't learn nutrition. They know that maybe they know the basics, but they never push nutrition because it's all about making money for big pharma. And it's medicine that they learn how medicines react and what medicines you're taking and what medicines you can't take if you're on this medicine and all of that. That's what they're trained. They're doctors. You go to a doctor and you say you've got a really bad migraine, they're just going to give you pills. They would never ask you, are you happy? Are you
Yeah.
stressed? Have you eaten? Have you slept? They never ask you this. Or when we had COVID-19, this pandemic, we not once on television had a commercial or a documentary on how to make the best vegetables or the highest vitamin C salad you could make for your family.
Yeah, it's
You
true.
know,
And
nothing.
look at Piers Morgan now. I follow David Icke on Instagram. I'm not Instagram, and the other one, X. I'm not a huge fan of social media, so I don't spend much time on it. But Piers Morgan says, I've been tested positive for COVID, so I'm going to work from home. I feel terrible. I've got such a bad headache. And the comments people were putting on there were absolutely hilarious, saying, hang on. And I did this myself. I said, maybe I'm a bit stupid, but haven't you been vaccinated like 4 or 5 times? And I said, when I got COVID in Mexico, I took ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine and I got rid of it in about 18 hours and it's never come back. And I'm not vaccinated. So he got so beaten up. Nobody that I saw was saying, oh, poor COVID, poor Piers Morgan. They're all just saying, you know what, stay there. That's it. Nobody feels sorry for you. You're not a journalist. How can you, all the vaccinations you've had, how can you possibly still have it? It's
What's funny? You're right. How can you be a journalist if you haven't done your research and you've taken the vaccine? That just goes to show you're not a
Yeah,
great journalist.
you're not a journalist.
No.
All he is Lee Dawson used to call him in his heavy Geordie accent. He used to make me laugh. He used to say, these people are all paid prostitutes. And they are. They all took the money. Last week in the British Parliament, there was one of the MPs was speaking in there about the statistics, about the impact, about the cover-up, about Boris Johnson. And it was his turn to speak in the Commons. And I don't know for our American audience if they've ever seen it, but the Commons, they televise it. And there's nobody in there Yet, if there's something about, okay, we're going to come into your homes and take you away and put you in a FEMA camp, all of those backbenchers, as they call them, the politicians, the MPs, would all be in there going, here, here, But there's nobody in there on the important things. They're running away from it. It means if they're not in there, they've all been paid off by Big Pharma. They're all taking the king's shilling, is the old expression, which means they've accepted a bribe from the official government body, which is obviously this is the CDC and Pfizer and Moderna, all of these big gang. But it's so shameful that these are public representatives that they say they're there for our best interests. And they're not. They're only there to line their own pockets. And when there is an important debate with facts laid on the table that's publicly televised, none of them show up. It was very, very poor turnout.
Well, it's very bad, but it's the only way that they're going to lose power is when the people realize that and wake up and realize that for themselves. Then we won't be able to trust the authorities or, the public servants, as we call them. We pay their taxes. Sorry,
Yeah.
we pay their salaries from our taxes, and they can't even serve us properly. And they're being bribed on the other side, and they're just killing millions. And it's just a matter of time until people realize that. They'll wake up and they will lose absolute power.
It's coming, though. This reminds me of a story I was tracking, because what I do is I track lots of things in lots of places to put the puzzle pieces together. But if I remember rightly, it was Ohio or Michigan, somewhere like that. And there was a huge factory that was going to be built on the outsides of town. And if I remember, it was something really toxic, like fertilizer or batteries. And what happened was the town people went and had a meeting saying, we do not want this toxic fabrication plant very close to our town. But of course, all the local politicians had all been bribed off. So they're saying, oh, it's going to be great. They said, no, you're not listening. You're not listening. We don't want it. So what they did was they went into the meeting and they fired every single member of the entire town's board of governors, everybody that makes the decisions. And they did it so well that they said, right, you're all fired, get out. And they changed the locks on the building so none of them can get back in. And I picked it up on a local news feed. I've recorded it somewhere. I'm probably going to use it on my show later in the week. But that shows you the power now that the people are saying, hey, we don't want it. We're sick of listening to you telling us what we want. It's we're telling you what we want. And if you don't like it, get out. And that's exactly how things should be. And I think they're rolling in that direction. Absolutely. We see more and more and more of this fighting back, coming together in small communities, heading the case that they can deal with. Because it's no good walking into the Capitol and, demonstrating with 500,000 other people. We've seen that. It doesn't work. You got to go attack the authorities that are keeping you living in fear, attack them at a local level and sack them. It's as simple as that. So it was a great win. I'll talk about it later on this week. I think it was Michigan, Ohio, and I'll get the facts right, but it's inside this head of mine. And when I remember things, he just goes, yeah.
Well, let's moving on. Let's talk about the Middle East and what's happening in Palestine and Israel, because this is dragging on now. All the attention is there. It seems like we've forgotten about Ukraine.
It's all done, isn't it? Yeah.
What's going on? What you've got updates, you say?
I do, because as this whole thing has rolled out, because what happened first, during the attacks, everybody was shocked. Oh my God, look what happened. Hamas has invaded and killed all these innocent people in Israel. But as things have rolled on, Nick, there's more truth come out about actually what's going on. And the Israeli, for having such a respected central intelligence, their secret service, and as far as keeping the cap on things, they're really doing a poor job, because the initial one was all of these teenagers or, early 20s kids killed at this concert. Then all of a sudden, the Israeli military admitted it was them that shot their own people, and all the videos were coming out from the phones that it wasn't Hamas that attacked the concert. They were all shot by the Israeli Defense Force. Then we have these, they said, oh, there's a master command center underneath a hospital in Gaza that's been built by Hamas. They were trying to make it look like the Starship Enterprise. But then Israel's former prime minister said, no, actually, those tunnels were made by us 40 years ago. The Israelis made those tunnels and bunkers underneath the hospital when they occupied all of that area, and they were made 40 years ago.
When you say Israeli, you don't mean obviously the people of Israel. You mean
I
you
mean,
mean like
yeah,
the
I'm
deep
talking
state who are pretending to be
Zionists, the
the
deep state
Zionists.
Zionists. Yeah. So then the next thing that's happening is it's basically genocide what's going on there. None of us really knew the real truth about it. We'd all heard about this struggling Gaza situation and, free Gaza, but it was never really on the tip of Western people's tongues.
Mhm.
This situation has come up, and the feedback and the videos that are coming out have turned absolutely everybody against Israel. Now, I don't know how he expected this not to happen, these Zionists, but I'm not pro Palestine and I'm not pro Israel. I'm pro people. I'm pro people that are drawn into these conflicts that are created by political monsters and psychopaths. But I feel, there's terrible stories about doctors having to perform surgeries when there's no anesthesia there. There was a lot of babies abandoned in the hospital. They're always talking about dead babies for some reason. But this seems to be a true story as well, where they were forced out of the hospital to leave newborn babies in the incubators, and the Israeli medical teams never took care of them. They just left them there. But it's fascinating now that all of this, and you've got big companies like Starbucks. Starbucks said, "Oh, we stand with Israel." The people said, "Well, F you, we're not buying your coffee anymore." Starbucks had gone like this because they made a clear stance. Um, there was 1,000 ships, that a flotilla of humanitarian aid that were turned around by the military blockade. Then the ships didn't get through to deliver it. Palestine doesn't even have a marina, or they're not allowed to import anything. So the Israelis are controlling that. And then there was 2 large ships that seemed to be hijacked down on the other coastline by another African. Was it Yemen? I want to say Yemen. Um, and nobody's talking about these huge ships that were taken over by these Palestinians sympathizing, different country, different group. But what was on those ships? Why is nobody talking about it? So if we see an influx of weapons that are being uploaded into Palestine, we'll know that this other fellow Islamic country has confiscated a lot of weapons that shouldn't have been on there. Let's see what happens.
Do you think the
But
truth is coming out to the open to the public about Israel, what they're doing?
yeah,
You know, the Zionists.
the Zionists, exactly, because look, 75% of the people have been out demonstrating to get that psychopath out of power, that Benjamin Netanyahu, who actually his father changed his name to hide the fact that he was an open Zionist. Biden's been recorded 15, 20 years ago saying you don't have to be Jewish to be a Zionist. Of course, I'm a Zionist, he was talking about. And these are the people that the real evil are, because they want to eliminate, literally genocide the entire race of people. I mean, and what's bizarre is these Zionists have hidden inside the Jewish community, waiting for this moment to happen.
Mhm.
And what they've done is they're doing exactly what was done to the Jewish people during World War II. They're applying it to Palestine. So horrific what's going on, and why no one else, like Russia, China, India, all of the BRICS economies are all saying don't push it. And then Erdogan, the president of Turkey, said Netanyahu will be brought up for international crimes of humanity, is a war criminal. Someone like Milosevic, do you remember him from the Yugoslavian conflict? He ended up in The Hague and imprisoned. I think he died in prison. So people are standing saying, listen, don't push it. And Israel gave a really cheeky comment back to them saying, we have nuclear weapons, you don't. And Erdogan said, listen, my mates in Pakistan will give me one. And Turkey's a very big country. Israel's a very small country, meaning we could just drop one and that's the end of it. I hope
Why
they come to that.
why do the Zionists, the deep state, the globalists, why do they want the actual land of Israel, or and then they want, you know, the Gaza Strip, Palestine? Why is that land in that location, that part of the world, so important to them? Why can't they just get an island somewhere else
Well,
that's easier for them? Why do
there's
they
the
need to
bib-
get that island? I don't understand that.
there's the biblical side of things where it says that God's chosen people will return to the Holy Land, from where they came. But there's very good. This will piss off all of the really religious people, but there's very good evidence now that Jesus was from Palestine. He wasn't a Jew. He was from there. So, and he was executed by the Jews in the Holy Land at the time. So there's such a political and religious conflict about it. But I think it's down to other things. I think it's down to a belief, what the Zionists believe. I think it's down to this for fear of being ridiculed again, this silly devil worshipping that they all go and do. I do believe that they are all into this occult devil worshipping right up through Hollywood and all the music business, all the sports people. There's more and more people talking about that. Just look at any music video, any of the Grammy Awards. There's always this weird ceremony with devils and red and flames coming up. But there's also very good talk about being huge oil reserves off the coast of Palestine in Gaza there. And they want to put a canal through. So they want to put a double canal, which will go into immediate competition with the Suez Canal, because Israel want that business to go through the Mediterranean so they can control the shipping. And it comes right out in Gaza, and to take advantage of all that natural oil and gas that's off the coast. So is it a good old-fashioned land grab, or is it something more sinister? I think it's a mixture of everything, Nick, to be honest.
I think you're right. I think it's definitely to do with the oil. Remembering now with the ships, definitely that. It's to do with money, and probably what you said about the land and the biblical side of it.
Biblical, it's a prediction in the Bible, and what they want to do is the Bible says that it's going to culminate with Israel, the Jews being wiped out and the Arabs being wiped out. And who's left? It's the Zionist thing. Right now it's mine. Because forget, Zionists are not Jewish people. They are hiding inside that culture. And that is the difference. And people are saying, oh, I hate Jews. Or,
is it because in the Bible, it says that the second coming, or, will come within the people of Jerusalem or the Jews,
it's all
or something
that area.
like that.
Yeah.
And they're trying to stop the second coming by hijacking that area to block it or something. Is it something like that?
Because traditionally throughout history, every time they talked about a Messiah coming in that part of the world, what they did was, like, King Herod killed all the newborn babies. Moses was another one from the Pharaoh who killed all of the sons at this age. So they keep trying these things to stop the Messiah coming back. And I think it is tied into this biblical prophecy that the Messiah is coming back. He's going to be here. This is where he's coming. So they say, well, we kill all those people. He can't come back. I mean, that's in simpler terms, but history has shown us that it's happened about 6 times, that genocide attacking an entire race of the people in that area to try and stop the Messiah from being born.
Absolutely. Makes sense. Now, moving on, I want to move on to Ireland, which is in the UK, who has tyrannical issues, and they're increasing their tyrannical government to new levels. They're passing laws.
What they're doing, Nick, is they're about to pass a law in Ireland which gives the police and the authorities power to come into your home and confiscate your phone and laptop and any other documentation and silence you under this. You're not allowed to be talking about what we don't want you to be talking about. And it's really close to coming into being a law now, because Ireland's been kicking off recently because there was a young girl stabbed by an Algerian immigrant, if I remember right. He was an immigrant who shouldn't have been there, and he stabbed a couple of kids on the street in Dublin in broad daylight. The teacher fought them off. I heard that one of them is gravely, actually died. And this is what the riots were going off, because the white Christian community was rebelling against all of these Muslim people that are just being dropped into Ireland and have no cultural basis, don't understand what's going on. Sexual assaults have gone through the roof. And this anti-immigrant feeling saying, listen, okay, we're hopeful, we're open and friendly, but you're taking, you're not following the rules. You're assaulting our kids. You're stabbing our kids. And now we want you out. The Irish government are ignoring it because, again, they're all paid prostitutes. So they want to try to stop this spreading of all of these truths that people are doing in Ireland by using social media, by using the mobile phone, by using not YouTube, but these sort of channels.
There's just too many people doing it. I mean, there's too many people doing it. They're going to arrest everybody, and they're going to go into everybody's phones and, confiscate everyone's phones. It just doesn't make sense to me how they're going to.
That's what they're trying to do. It's very similar. They also passed a law in New York recently where if they can consider you sick, you don't even need to be failing a test that you're sick. They can come in, and goes right in any age group. They can come into your home, say, you're sick, you're going into a FEMA camp, and you're staying there till we tell you that you can come out, when we stamp you as being fit. So there's no test, no due process, no in front of a court or a judge. You're just taken from your home and put in a camp. I mean, and they've passed it in New York now. People are freaking out, but I don't blame them. I mean,
Well,
this
that's why Miami is becoming the new financial district in America, because everybody in New York, a lot of companies, I tell you, are moving to Miami, to Florida, not just
I
Miami,
don't
but
blame them.
Florida.
I don't blame them. And the last story, Nick, I know we try to keep it around 30 minutes. The last story is I've got is Disney stock.
Mm.
So here, let's see. Disney stock has taken 136 billion. Well, no, was it? Well, the figures, I've got it somewhere. I don't like to get the wrong figures. It's taken such a tumble in its stock value because they've made flop after flop after flop after flop. The stock is plummeting like an engine out on a plane. It's going down and down and down. And the reason is the board of directors from Disney made a massive mistake. Instead of backing the parents, the mothers of these children that sit at home, watch these TVs and these movies with them, what they did was they backed the leftist woke community who wanted more content of lesbians and transgenders and gays on these television programs and these movies. Whereas moms at home who control the remote don't want their kids watching that. So they said, we're turning it off, as simple as that. So they've spent hundreds of millions of dollars making a series of flops that they haven't done anything at the box office. You know, even the Indiana Jones last movie hasn't done extremely well. And, what was that? Jim Caviezel's movie
I
took
was
more
going to
money.
say,
Yeah.
Sound of Freedom's doing fantastic.
Sound of Freedom took more money than that, and they've been pushing it everywhere. I've seen the film. It's not great. It's not terrible, but what happened in the end of it? They had, they changed the whole hero into a woman, and it's this leftist woke rubbish that people have said, I'm not having my kids exposed to that if I can help it. F you, Disney. We're not doing it anymore. So I think this is the start of the end for Disney. And there's also a story that's come out about them where Disney used to send kids on snorkeling trips to Epstein Island. And the cruise ships used to stop there, the Disney cruise ships. It wasn't always, but they have. So Epstein's link with Disney now is starting to trend as well, where people are saying, hang on a second, Disney did snorkeling trips to Jeffrey Epstein's island? Because, it's exactly where it was in the Caribbean. And they actually stopped there and brought more kids over. And we know exactly what he was up to. So the fall of Disney, I think, is going to continue unless they get somebody in there who's going to radically change their entire perspective and their politics. Because for the likely in the near future, nobody's going to be watching it anymore.
Absolutely.
The stock has fallen dramatically.
It really doesn't surprise me. And with the blackmail advertisers who blackmailed, Elon Musk for not advertising on the X app, he told them exactly where to go.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I hope that Elon Musk now is going to be an example for other people on his stature or just below his stature, and other companies that can follow his footprints. They can group together as the white hats and say, go and F yourself to the other, to the same, companies that are doing the blackmailing to these globalists, who want to enslave us.
Sorry, Nick. A lot of people didn't understand that what he was talking about, but basically he was hinting that the large companies, conglomerates that are controlled by the cabal, have been saying, Elon, if you don't toe the line and start going back and censoring this and censoring that, we're going to pull our advertising from you. And he said, I will not be blackmailed. Go F yourself. So because I was slightly confused about what that was, because I didn't see the whole interview, but this is exactly where it was for those people that don't get the gravity and why that particular tweet or that interview has been trending. That's it. He told the cabal, and BlackRock and the Rothschilds, all of these people, to do one, jog on, leave it alone. It's not going to work. It's not going to wash. We're not having it anymore. Every week we get closer and closer, Nick, to freedom and
Absolutely.
victory. It's great to see all this stuff happening.
David, it's been an absolute honor. Thank you so much for sharing everything with us today. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to the viewers before we finish?
Have an amazing Christmas. Happy holidays to everybody. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to you if you're doing Hanukkah, if you're doing Kwanzaa, if you're doing Christmas, whatever you're doing. I hope it's a great one. I'm a big fan of Christmas. I'm looking forward to a bright new 24, actually. 23 has been a great year. I've really enjoyed it. I've had some amazing stuff. 24 is coming up. It can only get better. We're getting closer and closer to the end of the cabal and the literal control and mind control on us. So keep doing what you're doing, Nick. We'll be back in a couple of weeks.
Absolutely.
Happy Christmas, everybody. I hope you have a great one.
Merry Christmas to you and your family, David. And 2024, time to bring Trump back.
Yeah,
You
let's
take care.
go.
And God bless you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.